Hi everyone, and a warm welcome back to my channel for both new and old subscribers. My name is Katja, I'm CatColouring, and today's video is the color and chat that you have all voted for. So first you voted for the illustrator Hanna Karlzon, then you voted for the book, and it was Tales from the Forest Kingdom that won that vote over seasons, much to my surprise. And it is this wonderful page, Catching the Stars, that we are going to be coloring today. I'm going to be using my Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils from Faber-Castell. If you don't have those, you can also use Polychromos pencils, also from Faber-Castell. They are the same colors, and it is a complete match between Polychromos and Albrecht Dürer. If you don't have any of these pencils, then you can just use the coloring pencil brand you want, because I have limited the color palette to a few colors: dark blue, dark green, and so on. So you can use the coloring pencil brand you want within these colors. So grab your copy of Tales from the Forest Kingdom and be sure to check the description box before you reach out for your coloring pencils. Let's get started. I will begin with the sky, and I really want this to be a dark sky. You know, when you look up at the sky and sort of late summer or autumn, I actually think this is, because it's filled with all of these pine trees, we're in the forest, I automatically think sort of autumn-like, because we also have a lot of mushrooms down here. So I think about quite a dark sort of night sky, except for around the moon, of course, where we do have some more light. I will be using the dark indigo, because I want it to be dark but not black. And I will simply just move the book. And this is just a base layer. So I will just, you know, very lightly give it a little bit of color around the moon. And we just have to, yeah, perhaps it's not quite a perfect circle. I will just leave some distance between the sky and the moon, because there's always some sort of glow around the moon. So just remember to use a light layer here. Well, sometimes it's much easier to color, you know, a motif like on the other page over here where it's framed in, than these covering the whole page, because it is a bit difficult when you get to the middle of the page. So my plan is to give it a base layer. With the Albrecht Dürer pencils, and then later go over it with the dry pencil. Perhaps in some areas only. I haven't quite decided yet. Just want to leave a little bit of room around these stars. I usually get too much color on when I use the Albrecht Dürers. So I'm having a hard time getting, you know, highlights around stars and stuff. Okay, so you can see here, it's a bit difficult to see how much the trees are up, because we have the net with the stars. I will just color 1/3 into the net with the blue color, and then the rest must be green, because I do think we have some trees in the background there. And now for the water brush. So I've decided to use a water brush with a very thin brush because I do have sometimes a little bit hard controlling the process if I use one of the larger water brushes with a larger brush. So I just want to be really careful here. So what has been happening in my life since the last Color and Chat? Well, as you know from the last Color and Chat with the frog shop, magical frog shop, Halloween coloring, I have been really, really busy at work with the exam in December. So if you were wondering, perhaps you haven't, but if you did wonder how the exams went for my students, I can tell you that they went really great for those who showed up for the exam. I actually had a couple of students who didn't show up for the exam, but for the rest of them, they all passed their exam, both the oral and the written one. So that is really great news, because as I said in the last one, I was a little bit nervous because it is a new way of doing exams. I had some of them, they took their exam, the oral exam, online. So how do you do that? Well, I sat in a nearby town with the censor who was there. It's another teacher from another school who's going to see that everything is in order and that they know their stuff, and also giving them the grade, the exam grade. And so we were sitting there in front of my computer, and then some of the students, they sat hundreds of kilometers away in Jutland, which is another part of Denmark, and someone, of course, kept an eye on them there, and then they took their exam online through the computer. So I sent them the text they were going to analyze, and then they got an hour, and of course they had someone to watch them. They didn't go on the internet and cheated, so they only used the notes, and then when it was time, they were back online with me again, and then I examined them. What is it called, examined? Well, it's not, not a physical examination, but, they talked about what they had found out during the analysis of the text, and then I asked them some questions, and the other teacher also, and then they were, disconnected while we debated their grade, and then they came back on, got their grade, and then it was all done. And without any technical issues, which is really nice, that we didn't have to take into consideration technical issues. That was really, really nice. So this is the indigo, a base layer of that. So I will just let it dry, because it does take a little bit to dry and it's still kind of wet. Then we can move on with some of the green trees. So I have pine green, and I have the deep cobalt green. And I think that we are going to be using the deep cobalt green first for these trees. And then, of course, after the exams, it was almost Christmas and time for the Christmas holidays. So that was really, really nice to be able to go on a Christmas holiday, knowing that everything had just worked out fine. So I did have a really nice Christmas holiday. And I got some quite nice Christmas presents, which I will show you in an upcoming art haul. I've actually debated with myself whether or not I should make an art haul video. I got, well, presents for both Christmas and for my birthday. My birthday was in the beginning of January, January 9th, and it was actually my 50th birthday. So now I am, well, half a century old, which really is more of a, number on a note and not a mental state, because mentally I do not feel like I'm 50 years old. I feel way, way younger. And then you can say, how do you know that if you don't feel like you're 50 years old? Well, I just feel like I have felt for the last many years of my life. So I don't feel old, because that age is just a number, as I said, on a note and on a paper. Doesn't really mean anything. So we use the deep cobalt green, which is a dark green color and has quite a some blue in it. And then we use the more green pine green, or green, I would say. Also a dark green color, but more warm, if you can say that, for the trees out here. But as I said, I have debated quite a lot with myself whether or not I wanted to make an art haul, because I think that recently, or during the last half year on YouTube, when I have seen the comments people write in other people's videos, that a lot of people are very annoyed about art hauls, and they accuse YouTubers for just being greedy people who, well, get a lot of free stuff thrown in their head from companies so that they can show off in art hauls and make reviews of them and so on. There seems to be some sort of story going around that a lot of people just brag about what they buy, but I have never really thought of art hauls that way. I think it's nice to show people the things that you have bought to get inspired. And a lot of people also look at art hauls like a sort of inspiration. This is, the juniper green I will use for the leaves down here. And it is a almost the same dark color as the pine green, but not quite. So I will just put some green on these leaves down here. So I haven't, also because I haven't bought a lot of stuff. I didn't buy anything for Black Friday, for example, because I didn't need anything. But I have invested in some things, and it has been some things that I have thought about for quite a while to invest in, which I will show you in that video, because now I am certainly going to make it. I think we will need a little bit of the, oh no, it's probably the earth down here. Let us use a brown. This is the Van Dyck brown, but let's just say this is just a brown color you can use for the ground. Because it is a forest, so it's probably dirt that they are standing on. Dirt, earth, whatever. But I did also get some really nice presents for, as I said, Christmas and my birthday that I wanted to show you. including a couple of coloring books that I didn't know exist, but now I have them, so I know that they do exist. And I wanted to show you. I have here the Cold Gray 4, just a little bit of gray on the stones. And then I wanted to have a very light layer of some gray up here at the moon, or on the moon. And I have here the other Cold Gray, the Cold Gray 2, that I just want to also use a little bit. And then I will leave an area completely, white of the page free. So an art haul is coming up on the channel. Not to brag, but to show you what I have bought. Also, I'm not one of those YouTubers that get a lot of things thrown after me from companies. I have only ever received 2 things from companies. The Woomer coloring pencils, and I mean Woomer sent to every single person on YouTube. Well, almost, because everyone got the Woomer coloring pencils when they first came last year. So it was not just me. Every channel, how small or big it was, got these coloring pencils. And since I made a shorts video about the Woomer coloring pencils, and it didn't get a lot of views, so they actually wrote to me after and said that they would not continue working with me because my short didn't get a lot of views. And that was, of course, because every single YouTuber had made videos of these coloring pencils, and a lot of them had got them 2 or 3 months before me. So there were so many Woomer reviews out there, and then I think that people reached a point where they didn't want to watch another review, and then they just stopped seeing them. And of course, then the smaller channels who made the review after, we didn't get a lot of views. The other time I got something was when I got from Artex, the Artex Oros 66 pastel alcohol markers, which I really like. I haven't used alcohol markers a lot because a lot of the coloring books that I have invested in during many years, they are not really suited for alcohol markers. So I also had to, luckily I actually had bought some of these cozy books, single-sided and all that, so that I could use them. So I decided to use them in Emilie Lidehall Øberg's Cozy Winter Bliss, where I compared them also to the Ohuhu alcohol markers. So I thought that I hadn't really heard about them at this time, but I realized after I had made it and sent it out, and it didn't get a lot of views, that Artex had sent it to other YouTubers also. So again, other people had made it before me. So perhaps that was an explanation why a lot of people didn't watch my review. I haven't heard from Artex since, but at least they haven't, as Woomer, written to me and said that they would not continue the collaboration. So just a little heads up to some of the people who think that we just get a lot of things without having to work for it. We actually do, and a lot of us, especially the smaller channels, we don't get all of these things and free stuff. We buy it ourselves. So I have spent a lot of money buying art supplies, partly because I wanted them, and some actually for the channel to make a review of them. But of course, I have also used it after. So whenever I read these, I know that some of the bigger channels, they do get free art supplies. And, that's fine by me. You just have to know that when you watch the reviews, and as most people seem to be aware of, that perhaps they are not quite objective in their reviews of the things. I really try to be objective. I like the Watercoloring pencils because they are really pigmented and they do work great on a lot of different sorts of papers. Not all, but the Amazon books particularly, they work really nice on that paper. And that's one of the reasons why I continue to use them on Amazon paper. So those were the leaves, the base layer on the leaves. Now let's try to work a little bit with these pine trees. And here you have to be really careful when you activate, so you don't get a lot of green on the moon, because it's almost completely impossible to remove a green color on a moon that you want to be, you know, silver-like, or, you know, very light and white. But using these watercolor pencils is a really great way of, what can you say, create a base layer in your coloring books. It makes the coloring a bit easier. As you know, last year I had a tennis elbow in my right elbow, and I'm right-handed, so it was extremely painful, and it has taken quite a few months. That was also one of the reasons why I didn't color so much during autumn. That, and of course my new job, which took a lot of time, but I had to reduce my amount of coloring because I was in so much pain when I colored. So I wasn't really able to color like I was used to. And it has taken me so many months since July, with a lot of training to and also physical therapy to make the pain go away, and to strengthen the muscles in my arm up to my elbow, so that I don't get that tennis elbow anymore. And I still have to train and try not to, you know, put it under too much strain. So when I can ease the process for myself by using watercolors or watercolor pencils or Neocolor 2s or Derwent Inktons or whatever, or soft pastels for a background, then I use them simply to try to prevent my elbow from being bad again. Oh, I actually had some leaves there that I had missed. I actually think I just need a little more color. And this was the tree, so let's just activate. This was pine green. That was the trees. Now we only need to color these trees. If for the background, and I will just activate these with some water. Okay, that's it. This was the base layer on the page. So now we can begin coloring yet again with these Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils, and put something on top and create some effects, light effects up here with the moon and with the stars, and of course also color the child and the rabbit. Okay, so now it's time to do something more than just the base layer. So the deep cobalt green is this green color, and I think that I will also add a little black, so I will just sharpen it. I really like the deep cobalt green. I think it's such a beautiful dark green color, like a sort of bottle green perhaps. I really like it. I have used these Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils together with the Polychromos, but you can also just use these dry, like I want to do. I recently did it on a drawing and I really like the result. So I think I want to experiment a little bit more with these coloring pencils. So here you can see that perhaps we should add a little bit of some black for some shadow. I am thinking about perhaps adding some black to this background, because we have to assume that the light coming down from the moon shines upon the rabbit and the girl. And when you are in a forest, then sometimes it gets, really dark and black. So you can see when I want to have some color down, I am pressing hard now because I want the color to come down on the paper. And here we just need a little bit of some shadow. So of course you can, make it to a complete black and gray landscape, but I do want some color on the drawing. Otherwise it would be, I think it would be a bit boring if we didn't get some color down. So you can see here I have added a lot of pressure, so it's really dark. Here I had pressure, but not a lot of it because the light from the moon shines down. So darker, lighter. Now I will have to be careful that I don't color any green on that moon. So let me put some color down on these trees. See if I can match the other color over here. But we still want some shadow. Just before I forget it, I would like to put some shadow. So okay, in here I am laying down some more color, but I will probably also go in with the black to add some more shadow. I'll just color these trees that needs to be colored. Okay, perhaps we could get a little bit more light on these trees down here to match the others, but still a little bit lighter than here. Okay. This is sort of a see-through net. So I will just color. And this is, I don't know how many stars we have, but I can see at least 3 stars. So let's just see if we can't do it like this. And here. So let's first color with green and then with some black around it. Okay, perhaps the green color goes a little bit down here. And also over here. But we will have to decide now, or I will have to decide whether or not I want a more shadow black color here. And I think that I want some more shadow over here. But you can also see that these pine trees, I think I will just do a layer of black on top of the green and then activate it with water and see where it brings us. Okay, so now that I have activated the black, you can see it helps a little bit. It also looks a little bit weird right now. So let me just take the black on top of the green without activating it, because I do think that it has to be quite dark. But it doesn't mind if we can see some of the, green shining through. So here I will just ease the pressure so that we can see that it is also green. This means that I will now just take some of the black up towards the green and also down here. So I will sort of mix and match, and I will also do the same over here. And here it will of course be quite dark anyway, because of the light of the moon not perhaps reaching all the way over here. Okay, so now I will just go in with the black yet again, and this time I will not activate it. I will simply blend the black into the cobalt green, and I will continue to adding black over here. So you can see now that we have colored. It is absolutely getting more dark. If you want to, you can add a very, very, very light layer of the black into the green. Not so you can, not very clearly, but just so you get some more dark color from the bottom and up on these trees, but not at the top, because again, the moon, and it is of course lighter there. And perhaps a little more black color over here, because it is more the shadow side of things over here. Okay, so let's see where we are now. I actually think that I am satisfied with the trees. We can see the top of the trees. We have a black background. Now we need to concentrate on the trees in the side, down here, the sky, the moon, and of course the rest of the drawing. It's going to be quite a long color and chat, I think. Let's just take the juniper green. I will just sharpen it a bit, and let's just add a little bit more color to these leaves down here. So we do have something in the middle of these leaves that I think that we will just sharpen it. We will just use the pine green for this. No need to make things complicated by too many colors. We continue with the pine tree to the right. And I have here the pine green 267. And we have to remember, again, light coming down. So we have more light in this area. But nevertheless, I will just give it a layer of color. And of course, I will also add some black for shadows. It's a little bit difficult to, it's not enough room to color these pine branches. Okay, so we actually do have a little bit of some shadow here. So you can just take the black and add a little bit. I think I will just sharpen it to make it sharper for the details. Again, so before I use the green, I just want to add a little bit of shadow, because even though we have the light, of course, there will be some shadows. And we will just put the shadow as a thin line with the black. And here we have to sort of rely on these lines that Hanna Karlzon has made when she drew this drawing. Just move it up a little bit so you can see it clearly. So now you can see that we have some shadow incorporated in these pine branches. And then we just continue with the pine green. And even though we do have some light shining down, we just have to remember we can't make it too light, a too light color, because of course the light comes down, but the girl actually shadows she makes a shadow here from the light of the moon down on this pine tree behind her. So we will probably have some more light from the moon on the branches over here than over here. So to the left, some more reflection and more shadow to the right. So I don't know about where you live, but we have certainly had quite a winter here in Denmark. We usually, well, last year we only had one time with snow and it lasted, well, a couple of days and that was it. Some years we don't get any snow, and this year we got some snow in November and it was really cold, and then December was somewhat warmer. We got some rain and it was gray and clouded, but otherwise no winter. And now in January, just after New Year, we have had nothing but cold and snow. So the first snow was in the beginning of January, and we just had a little period where most of the snow melted and it got just a little bit warmer. And now we have our second time with snow, and it just keeps on going. We're going to have more snow in the coming days, and the cold just continues quite a bit. So we will have, well, we will actually have this cold weather for the next couple of weeks, at least until the middle of February, before perhaps it will get just a little bit warmer. And well, we're not used to that. Some years ago, in 2010 and 2011, when my children, they were small, we had a couple of real winters where it was just snow and snow and snow and cold from, I think it was December until the spring, about in March and April, before the last snow melted in April. So when my son and youngest daughter were little, they thought that this is how it's supposed to be during the winter. It's supposed to be cold and filled with snow, and then we can play in the snow and make snowmen and all that. But then we had some years with hardly any snow, and a green December where it was warm and, as I said, just clouded, perhaps some rain. And they just asked me, where is the snow? Why doesn't it come? And I had to explain that, well, usually in Denmark we don't have these really cold winters with a lot of snow, and certainly not in December. So we will just add some color over here, and I actually think that we will need a little bit more of some shadow over here, because we have the leaves here. So I want to just want to color a little bit more of some shadow over here. It is going to be a somewhat dark picture. And then you can add a little bit of some of this black. Just around the bending here. So we do have quite a very, very dark pine tree. The other pine tree, we're going to do exactly the same. We are going to have some shadows, but I will not press as hard with the green color because we have more light from the moon. You can see I'm just adding a little bit of shadow. Okay, so I think just a little bit over here. And I know that the snow and the winter has been really bad in other parts of the world. So my friend Jamie, he wrote, I want spring, when they said that it was going to be this huge snowstorm in America. And it has been really bad. I mean, tons of snow in New York. I think it was actually a record-setting amount of snow that came in. I think they measured the snow in Central Park, and it was, well, there was really a lot of snow. I think it was the largest amount of snow in 120 years. That is quite something. So please notice that I am coloring, but I don't have as much pressure as on the right side. So here to the left, we can add a little bit more pressure. And especially down here, because we have to assume that we also have some sort of shadow cast from the rabbit. But not quite as much as on the other side. So remember to ease the pressure on this side of the left pine tree. And you can clearly see the difference. We have some light, and here more, absolutely more of a shadow. And then as we go down to the bottom, then we can add a bit more pressure. We'll just take it up a little bit, and then, because it is more in shadow down here. So, well, my friend Jamie is not the only one who is longing for spring. I certainly am. And spring is not even near. Usually of this time of year, we have the winter aconites beginning to come from the up from the ground, and also the snowdrops. Perhaps some crocus. At least in February we do have it, but not this year. I have been to my garden last week, and I looked, and I couldn't find a single sign of anything coming out of the earth. Not a single thing. So here we begin with the dark color, or just, you know, to make it darker. It's the same color, but we just press a little bit harder down here towards the bottom of the tree. So a little bit more pressure down here. And it doesn't matter that we get some texture when we color this tree. Of course, I also want a little bit more of some shadow down here. So I will just, oh, it's just leaves. I will just add a little bit of the black color with a light hand. Don't press too hard, just to darken some of this green, because we have some more shadow down here. So just a little bit. Okay, so you can clearly see now that we have colored the pine trees. More light up here, much more shadow over here. Okay, so now it's time to color the ground yet again. And I will start by using the black, because we have to create some sort of shadow. So I will just add the black underneath the rabbit. Just take it up a little bit more so you can see more clearly that we are simply just coloring all of this shadow black. And also shadow underneath the girl. So we do have some shadow from these. So the question is the shadow. Then we take this is the Van Dyck brown I used. So it is a dark brown, but not the darkest brown, because I am going to be using walnut brown for these sorts of nets to catch the stars with. And just give it a nice layer of this Van Dyck brown. Of course, I also live at the top of the city. I don't live at the bottom. You can say that my city is situated on a hill. So at the bottom of the hill, you have the train station. It dates back from the late, I would just have to think, the late 19th century. The station was built when you constructed the railroads in Denmark. So only, well, about a couple of kilometers away. I think it's about 1 kilometer away from Tølløse is the old town. And that was the original town dating back from the Middle Ages, where the church lies and where there is a castle from one of the local, nobles that used to live here. back in the old days. And well, they were making the railway, and it would take a lot of effort to take it all the way to the old village surrounding the castle. And that is why they made a new village. And so the railroad came first in my town, and then the city just, grew up around this railroad. I think that in the, because it's two cities or villages that has grown together and become a city now, or a town. It's not that big, but it is certainly a lot bigger than when I moved here over 25 years ago. This summer I will have lived here for 26 years. So now we have a dark ground down here, and I will just take that dark cool gray number 4 to add a little bit of gray to these stones. That was the ground, and now I think that I will, because I will not base everything, and you can see I have a little bit of color here and there. It's almost impossible to color such a drawing without making a little bit of a mess sometimes. But I will choose some colors now for these mushrooms, and I don't know what this is supposed to be, but I think that I will still keep the color palette somewhat simple. So I will, for this, I don't know if it's some sort of grass. Could be. I will just pick another color. So I think that I will choose the chromium green opaque, but I will just sharpen it. Oh, that was not very good sharpened. Here we go. Because I don't want, first of all, I don't want to use a huge color palette. Okay, this is really annoying. I always hate coloring at the bottom of a page because it always goes wrong somehow. But it could be a fun idea to choose a completely different color for the mushrooms, and perhaps use some sort of fluorescence or something to make the mushrooms glow. So I think we will do that. But these sort of, I don't know if it's grass or whatever, let's just color them with this dark sort of army green color. Chromium green opaque, which has the number of 174. So I live on top of the hill. I actually live at the highest point of the town. This means that during winter and spring you can really feel the difference, because it's always way colder up where I live than down the hill. And when people get, spring flowers, they always bloom. Or not just spring flowers, any flowers really, roses during the summer and so on. So it always blooms downhill 2 or 3 weeks before mine begin to bloom. So I'm always one of the last in the town to, get my daffodils to, when they bloom, to get them to bloom, and my tulips and my snowdrops and so on. I always have to be the last one whose flowers will bloom because I live up high. Okay, I have had time to think about it, and I have decided 2 things. 1, the color I'm going to be using for the mushrooms, and 2, that I will make this color and chat into 2 parts, because I can see now that the video is already quite long and I still need to color these. So instead of just cutting it short and then I will not have finished the entire drawing with you, I've decided to make a part 2 where we color the child and the rabbit and the moon and the sky up here. So, okay, the mushrooms. I have decided on one of the most genius colors of the Faber-Castell range, the Cadmium Yellow Lemon number 205. And I love this color because it is so versatile, I think it's called. You can just use it for a lot of different things. To make glowing mushrooms in a dark forest at night, to make sort of corals and sea anemones in a underwater scene in coloring books, to combine with, for example, the leaf green and one of the darker green colors to make leaves more interesting. I mean, there's just such a wonderful number of ways you can use this color to bring some highlights into a drawing without it being real highlights, then a pop of color. So the next step is to add a fluorescent sort of yellow, a neon yellow. So of course I could use this is my Sakura Jelly Roll, the neon yellow, which is really good. But not recently, because it's quite a long time ago, I bought this Uni-Chalk marker Fluo Yellow, and I have never used it because I haven't really colored anything that was going to be, fluorescent for quite a long time. So sorry about the noise. I'm just trying to activate it. Oh, now, wow, what a color. Take a look at this color. Wow. One of the good things about the Cadmium Yellow Lemon is that when you combine it with a fluorescent color, it looks great. I might actually give it 2 layers, but let's see. Sometimes you just need to activate it a lot in the beginning, but look at the color just flowing from this. So when you combine these colors and then you can, add a little bit of white highlight after this is dry, then it just becomes these sort of fluorescent mushrooms down at the forest floor, if you can say that. So I just need to color the last of the mushrooms. And now I will just activate my white gel pen to add a little bit extra of some white highlights. Of course, if you wanted a darker color, then you could have used one of the more purple colors. Perhaps I would have gone, if I had wanted to use some sort of a purple, I would have chosen the middle purple pink and then used a pink neon color to cover the outlines of these mushrooms, and then you will get a completely different color tone, but still something to light up these this forest floor. Well, that was it for this part 1 of the color and chat with this Catching the Stars. So part 2 will be out on my channel eventually. Just need to film and color the rest. Anyway, I really hope that you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching and sticking with me to the end of this part 1. Please give this video a like, a thumbs up. Helps my channel. You can also help me by hyping some of my videos so they can get more views and my channel can be pushed out to more new viewers. Until I see you in the next one, have a lovely day. Take care of yourself. Happy coloring. Bye.